There is a specific kind of guilt that visits you at night. You look around your room and see the half-finished sketchbook, the programming course you abandoned on lesson 12, the foreign language app you opened every day for 3 weeks and then never again. And the thought that follows is always the same. What is wrong with me? Nothing. But that realization takes time, and most people never get there. Here's what no one tells you. The people who can't stop starting things, who fall in love with subjects the way others fall in love with people, intensely, completely, and then move on, they aren't broken. They're operating on a fundamentally different cognitive frequency, one that most of society doesn't have the vocabulary to describe, let alone respect. You were handed a label early: scattered, unfocused, too much. And you internalized it so deeply that you turned it into your identity. But consider this. What if the problem was never the number of interests you have? What if the problem was the framework you were using to evaluate them? For most of the 20th century, the economy rewarded depth above everything else. Pick a lane, drive fast, don't look sideways. And that worked for a world that moved slowly enough for one skill to carry an entire career. But that world is dissolving in real time. The chef who taught herself data visualization to redesign her restaurant's menu didn't follow a career plan. She followed her curiosity across what looked like unrelated territories, and what emerged was something neither a pure chef nor a pure analyst could have created. That is not distraction, that is synthesis, and synthesis is increasingly the most valuable cognitive skill on Earth. Psychologists have studied what separates people who make unexpected creative leaps from those who grind within a single domain. The answer isn't talent, it's exposure. The person who is moved through multiple disciplines carries a mental library of patterns. When they encounter a new problem, they don't just reach for the obvious tool, they reach for the surprising one, the one no one else thought to bring into the room. But here is where it gets complicated, and where most people with wide-ranging curiosity eventually crash. You cannot pursue everything simultaneously and go anywhere meaningful. That isn't a willpower problem, it's a physics problem. Attention is a finite resource, and spreading it infinitely thin produces a kind of motion that looks like progress, but isn't. The people who turn this kind of mind into something powerful do something counterintuitive. They go deep, but in sequence. They give themselves full permission to obsess over one thing for a season, knowing they are not abandoning the others. They are simply deferring them. The architecture gets built one pillar at a time. A nurse who spent her evenings learning UX design didn't become a product designer overnight. She spent 2 years genuinely immersed in both. Then the moment arrived, almost naturally, when the two fields collapsed into each other, and she began building healthcare interfaces that the tech industry had been getting dangerously wrong for years. She didn't choose between herselves. She let time do the integration. That is what your scattered path has been preparing you for. Not one destination, a convergence. So the next time you feel ashamed of everything you've started and not finished, try asking a different question. Not, why can't I commit? But what am I quietly learning to connect? Because the through line has always been there. You just couldn't see it from inside the middle of the story.